Greetings, fellow hobby enjoyers. Welcome to another Hobby Hang stream. Today I'll be working on this Breacha boy. Gonna bring him up to snuff with his fellow Kommando brethren. So let's get the usual paints out. We're gonna need some metal color. We're going to need our camouflage colors for the olive drab components, some null and oil. Ogren camo, strapping green. What else? What else? As I sift through the paint bucket. Sons of Horus green. And what was the base color? Incubi? Yes, okay. That should be enough to start. And I think I'll actually start with the metal colors. I'll mix that in with some black primer I have going on my palette, just to darken it a little bit. Bring it closer to something. Bring it to a color closer to gunmetal. Pyro, welcome. Link Dancer, how's it going? Pyro says, was almost done watching your chat with Northern Exile and Outer Circle. I got like 20 minutes left of it. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed. We plan to do more. I'm curious to see where that goes. Guess I should use a battered brush for metal colors, eh? It's probably a good rule of thumb. I have my reference from the Kill Team rules pamphlet here. Not pamphlet, but rules PDF. So we want metal color on the Breacha ram and on that mine on his backpack, his face mask. Okay. So let's get more liberal with this black primer. I like the idea of this ring here being a hazard stripe material. I think that looks real neat. So I'll try to emulate that from the source art. And the actual impact plate will also be metal color. What an orky contraption this is. I don't know if these little fanged sections should be various colors representing bits of different scrap. That might be a good way to go. power pack should be red, I think. I've made the power packs on the various other guys red, I think, across the board, so I think it makes sense to carry that through. And for the body section of this ram, you know what, let's make it even darker. Even more. That's a real gunmetal there. Hey, look at that. Just didn't even get any primer in there. How funny. Misfit, good evening. Welcome to the stream. Just saw your message. Well, I think since this area isn't likely to be seen, it should be okay to just slap some of our primer metallic color mix on top. I don't think that'll bite me in the ass later. Okay, our other metal colors will be this mine, this faceplate. It's a cool scratch built blast mask, I guess. For these armor pieces, the sample art paints them green, but I'm not particularly fond of that idea. So we'll base it in metal, and I could give it a layer of a color, TBD, down the line. Just paint it kind of haphazardly, make it look like a chipped paint job. Oh, look at that. He's got a little plunger switch here. That's awesome. He's going to put down that mine and detonate it later. What a cool guy. So we got some metal components on the grenades. He's got this sledgehammer, which maybe will make the hammer head a concrete or something. Sort of a concrete brick hammer. An improvised weapon. Pyro says, I'm curious if my PC can handle Space Marine 2. Right now, when it's in a SSD, it can't pass the first cutscene. Maybe if it's in my HDD, it could. When I first booted up Space Marine 2, I couldn't watch, and I think you can find the stream, maybe. But I couldn't watch the first cutscene either. People in chat told me it was a bug with particular graphics drivers or video or graphics cards, maybe. That's possible. For what it's worth, I had my game installed on my hard drive. Every other cutscene in the game that I haven't finished the game, but everything else in the game thus far I've been able to watch just fine. Yeah, that's on the to-do list for sure. Space Marine 2. He's got random sticks of dynamite on his back. Just in case the bundle of 6 isn't enough. Okay, I gotta paint his buckles. That's very important. Okay, and from here we'll get into the skin. Misfit says I'm so close to clearing my GSC. Ah, very nice to hear. Very nice to hear. It's always satisfying to clear up the hobby backlog. Yeah, after this orc kill team is done, I did want to do a kit-bashed Corsairs kill team, but I feel it would be unwise to go from Xenos to Xenos. I think you gotta pace it out with a bit of power armor, and so I have a kit-bashed Legionnaires kill team that is built and, I guess, base colored, but they need a proper bit of attention. So I'll probably jump over to the Legionnaires kill team, and then maybe the Corsairs kill team, or maybe it'll just be Aspect season. Aspect Warrior season. We will have to see. We'll play it by ear. Pyro says, like audio was playing, but it would cause a semi-crash. And that in a black screen type of thing. If memory serves, Pyro, it sounds similar to what I experienced with the first cutscene. It did not bode confidence. Beyond that, I was able to play the game pretty adequately. We'll begin our orky skin blend, our cool blue skin. Well, it's, I still think it's green-ish. But it's certainly more of a bluey green than the typical yellow green. Might have also been worth considering refreshing the palette paper, but it is what it is. Sort of a impromptu stream today. Look at that thick neck. Jesus, it's like a tree. How would you... It's like impossible to behead an orc, right? You have to imagine the amount of gristle. One does not simply take an orc head. Pyro says, so if that's happening, I should have reorganized and moved files then. It'll take me hours to wait for stuff to move. Well, I made the hell that I'm making. Yeah, you might have to move some files around, perhaps. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know, but I'm sure the game will sort itself out if it's anything like what I experienced. Misfit says on my to-do list is got to get the Corsairs kill team and kit bash them to Exodites. Oh, very cool. Very cool idea. An Exodite Corsair kill team. That's a great spin on it. The spin I had for my Corsair kill team was the idea of a Yvrain Honor Guard, right? So a combined Eldari kill team with Drukhari and Eldar. Well, Dark Eldar and regular Eldar. You know, you got the Shade Runner in there. You got a whole bunch of specialists that I think lean in particular like directions with regards to Dark Eldar or Craft World Eldar. Got some that are good analogs for Guardians, and some that are good analogs for Kabbalite Warriors and Witches. Pyro says, how would I push a Lizardmen team in Mordheim? Captured Lizardmen that are now free due to the city fall? You think that's a good idea? I think that seems perfectly reasonable. Like, Mordheim's like the cursed city, or not the cursed city, it's like a cataclysm. That's the environment, or the setting, right? It's a grand city that has been hit by a meteor, right? And it's all broken and lawless, and you know, you just go in and search for shards and have surprising encounters. I don't see why Lizardmen couldn't. Why couldn't Lizardmen even want to go check out what's going on over there? Right? I think of a Diablo 3 type setup, right, where you have this fallen star and all the different character classes show up from all over the land to investigate. Or you could have, captured Lizardmen works well enough. I don't know if what I described is unreasonable for the old world's setting. My exposure to the old world is basically Vermintide. And even then, yeah, that still counts as fantasy, right? Is Vermintide considered a Warhammer fantasy game? Or is it some sort of in-between timeline between Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy? Pyro says that, or let themselves get captured and collect and destroy the warpstone that fell on Mordheim. Yes, Vermintide 2 and 1 is the end of fantasy, the end times. Yes, that sounds... Yeah, I feel like that might have been mentioned. That might have been NPC dialogue. It's been a minute since I've played any Vermintide 2. But, fun game. Would recommend. Not missing any skin spots, am I? No holes in his pants? No. I think we're good. While the metal color is still alive, I want to make some bronze. So we'll mix in some Balthazar. I want to accentuate. I want to make this plate stand out a bit more. And I think bronze is a subtle but still fairly a fairly good contrasting element. We can put some bronze on this panel as well. Okay, already it's looking far more interesting. That would be it for the bronze components. Okay. You know what, again, while the metal color's still alive, let's hit some of those spots I missed. Definitely going to make that a red button. I feel like that's a key opportunity to leverage. Alright, back to the skin. We're going to mix some Ogren camo to the blend, the Sons of Horus blend. Pyro says at what the 40k. I already told Handicraft another 40k YouTuber. Get your Vallejo paint soon. The workers are going to be striking, so good luck getting paint. Oh, excellent tip. I appreciate that, Pyro. Yep, there's quite a few model colors and even some game colors I lean rather heavily on, and I do need some off-white desperately. I've been saying it for many streams now. So eventually I won't be able to squeeze anything else out of the dropper bottle. Mike the Bretonian Grail Knight, welcome to the stream. Thanks for tuning in. As someone whose painting skills are barely better than a 3-year-old, watching you paint is like watching a demigod. Well, I appreciate that, Mike. I'm flattered. Demigod is I feel like it might be a bit much, but you know what? I'll take it. For what it's worth, I do paint very slowly. Misfit says handy is cool, and I've been hunting for an equivalent / alternative to Corvus Black and Ulthuan Gray. Those are colors I'm not particularly familiar with. For my grayscales, I prefer, well, I don't prefer, it's just what I've gotten used to. I'll take them out now because I will need them later. I find like just having these 3 colors is enough to sort of get whatever grayscale color I need, more or less. You can put a black at the end here. Any black color, really. You know, you have your 000 black. You have your near white, because I don't particularly like using white paints. And you know, you can mix whatever you need in between. You know, up or down, either way. It's London Gray and Dark Sea Gray from Model Color. Misfit says Corvus Black is a very dark matte charcoal, kind of off black. Right. Right, yeah, I had to imagine it's some kind of almost, but not exactly black. You know, this brush has definitely lost its precision status, but I find its shape, it still allows it to have some pretty valuable, it allows the brush to apply paint in a way that sort of reads like texture. And I find that to be very valuable. And I'd like to think that there's a value in working with a brush that's, you know, not perfectly precise. It forces you to be a bit more careful with your application. And I'd like to think that's like a skill boosting protocol, maybe. That could just be cope, though. The orc skin's looking decent. Right, his musculature is looking pretty readable. You know, I sort of second guessing making the underneath of his neck as bright as I did. Maybe it should just be darker. Yeah, it should do. I guess we can get onto the sneaking suit gray colors now. Tramari, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Happy Eats Lots Day. Gets, yes, Happy Turkey Day. Or as I refer to it as, Thursday. Okay, so we'll be using our London Gray and mixing in some, where is it, Game Color Black. Those will be our two colors to kind of get our, you know, smoky gray sort of color here. Dark, but not too dark. Yeah, the wet palette is a mess. It's a mess, to be honest with you. Okay, let's add some water to the mix. Maybe start from a color like this. Look at this guy's got a little hammer patch on his shoulder. That's neat. Yeah, so we'll pick that out in a light gray. You know, lately, last few weeks, I've been getting these weird messages on the chat. Like chat disconnected, reconnected, successfully reconnected. It doesn't appear to be in the chat that's exporting to you guys on OBS though. I don't know if you have similar messages on your end. On the viewer side of things, mix in a bit more London Grey and begin putting some lighter colors down in a way that would enhance the readability, right? The areas which would catch light. He's got some harsh creases on his pants. So I think it makes sense to kind of enhance those. Enhance them where we can. Right top of the shoulder, make that brighter, of course. Basically all the upwards facing areas of his shirts and of his shirt and pants. I guess it's a kind of pre-shading approach. I'm going to put a wash over top, Nuln Oil. And when that's applied, I'll probably apply it to all our metal spots as well. Just all over, except for the skin, and an all over wash. Tramari says, your machine spirit is acting up. Yeah, it seems like it. Pyro says, yesterday YouTube chat was acting funky as well, like it was lagging badly. Maybe it's just a YouTube thing. I'd like to think so. Mike, the Bretonian Grill Knight says, you a lore man or a model man? I'm a lore man, though I swear I'm not broke. I'm just not done with school. I enjoy the lore. I think that it adds... It's the without it, what are we doing, right? It adds the intrigue and interest to the tabletop gaming aspect of things and the hobby side of things, even the collecting side of things. Like, it's kind of fun to adhere to the lore, even from a collecting point of view. Like, I've had, you know, for myself, I've gained a tremendous amount of satisfaction of building out my Space Marine chapter and trying to follow the chapter hierarchy and, you know, Force Org and all that sort of stuff. It's just, you know, and that's certainly lore adjacent. And it makes the collecting side of things even more enjoyable as well. So to answer your question, I guess I'm somewhere in between. I don't want to just choose I'm exclusively, you know, as a content creator, I'm much more of a model man. There's an answer to your question. Would I use some of the Incubi darkness from the palette and mix it in with my my black colors over here, because I want to make the boots a bit cooler. Still want them dark, but I want a cool dark color for them. I think that just helps with the readability. It's subtle, but I think it helps. And, you know, the bases are orange, so I feel like it helps the models pop off the base a bit more as well. Not very stealthy, but we're going for aesthetics here. Might have overblown how cool these are. We'll see. I'll do another like layering pass with a bit of gray mixed in. That might reduce the saturation. Might help rein things in a little bit if you catch what I mean. Pyra says, out with the 40k, do you plan on getting a Norn creature, either the Psyker or Heavy Vehicle Destroyer kind of Norn? Oh, Pyro, asking the best questions. But regrettably... Let me think about this. Okay, so I have, in the Pile of Shame, the beginnings of a custom Norn creature for High Fleet Gengar. And, you know, I'll get to it eventually. There are other things that I wish to do before, unfortunately. So that's the regrettable nature of the answer. But yeah, it would be a psyker type of Norn creature, with respect to your question. Has to be psychic because it's High Fleet Gengar. I feel like that's on theme rather than a vehicle destroyer or an assimilator type. I don't know, I think custom Tyranid bioforms have well, you know what? Whether they're Norn or not, custom Tyranid units and bioforms should be like, I wish rules were such that they'd be encouraged, right? Unfortunately, that's not the timeline we're in, but, you know, the idea of, like, you know, you're a High Fleet Chronos guy, let's say. You love your shooty bugs. Why wouldn't the Norn beast of your High Fleet Chronos Splinter, be just like the peak weapon beast to ever have been spawned, right? Just like a dual rupture cannon Norn creature. Something wild. That's the kind of stuff that excites me about the hobby. Mix in a bit of London Grey with, you know, I'm gonna mix in a bit of black too. Into that Incubi cool black color, cool off black color, and I'll just apply a layer over the, I don't know, kind of haphazard application, right? Or we're just adding some texture, some noise. You know, once the wash goes on, I think it'll look pretty good. Pyro says, I was hoping, once I'm done with my projects, I plan to make a Ravenger Psyker for Tiamat. That or a Neurogon style creature with heavy armor to act as shields. Ah, very cool. Yeah, Tiamat is... That is a hive fleet which, if memory serves, is characterized by like defensive warfare, right? Territory acquisition or area denial, right? So I like the idea of like an implacable or like a immovable kind of object, right? It's like a you shall not pass twist on a on a Norn creature. Pyro says, cause for Tiamat, based on lore, they have tougher armor and they squat up to make use of the tougher armor. Yeah, that's very interesting. I feel like that would make for an interesting detachment rule even. Okay, let's get the Nuln Oil going. We'll get the safety stand out. Gotta have your safety stand. And we'll get the large workhorse brush. Give it a good dousing. So I want to be mindful to not let it pool up terribly. So I have to immediately circle back to this side. Okay, and we kind of made a terrible mistake. You know what? It's not a big deal. We can rescue it as we go. Tramari says, need to bounce. Family is here. Well, you enjoy, Tramari. Eat well. And enjoy your evening. Enjoy your holiday. Thanks for tuning in. I feel like this guy's gonna have a lot of red elements, right? You got grenades, you got dynamite, got the power pack here. So maybe we'll have to go with a more neutral, less offensive color for the weapon wrap. Interdasting. Doesn't appear to have any dangerous areas of poolage. I think we're okay. All right. So the error I made earlier, which isn't a big problem. So I think these areas, these wrist wraps, should be gray. So we'll either have to give him a wash again, or, you know what, it's probably adequate enough just with some paint. They are an accessory after all. You know what? I want to put some wash underneath the mine here. So since we're doing it, we'll just apply a little bit. Okay, do I have any red on the palette? Nothing alive, unfortunately. Okay, let's get a brown color. You know what? Rakarth Flesh should be fine for a yellow base color. So we'll grab a bit. Usually I use Steel Legion Drab to build up the yellow colors, but I think Rakarth Flesh should do the trick. It could yield a slightly different yellow than what's on the other models, but for orcs, uniformity isn't necessary. So it's actually a good, it's very forgiving in that sense. It's a good faction to paint if you like experimenting with different techniques and different approaches. Different types of paint colors, right? You don't have to always be in this sort of trap where it's like, oh, my Blood Angels are all painted with Mephiston Red, so I must use Mephiston Red on everybody. Pyro says, I see YouTube chat is lagging again. I'm on live. I don't even see the other guy's message on my side. Only on stream chat. That is weird. Is it possible your chat is set to top comments rather than live? I believe I set mine to live. There's a little drop down at the top, and you can change your display preferences like this. And I keep it on live because I feel like it's more pure, less likely to be censored by the YouTube gods. All right, corn red. Corn red, it's a bit of a mess in here. I feel like this is on its way to turning into a texture paint. Alright, so let's paint this power box. So, painting it red must mean fast charging. We need to base color this dynamite. You know what? I probably shouldn't be doing red so early. I probably should do the olive drab stuff first. Yeah, you don't want a red wrap, like 2 accessories on either side also being red. I think that looks a bit bad. I think you want some asymmetrical features. Pyre says no, it was on all messages, yet Tremari's message never came through. I had to switch between top messages and all messages to be able to see them. Very weird. Yep, must be something with YouTube then. Whoops. That's why I can't have nice things, folks. Okay, we're looking for Castellan green, base color, Strachan green for the layer color. Oh my god. I just noticed. I just noticed a big old metal spike detail right there. Look, despite my best efforts, I can't seem to help myself. think I've been painting grenades red, right? Yeah. I think sometimes I've been painting them red. Jerry Sanchez, welcome, and a happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Pyro says, what detachment would you like for your current factions at World of 40k? Like, we know all Chaos Gods are getting their own detachments. What do you hope for, Slanesh? I guess there's two for my current... I guess there's two questions there, Pyro, right? What do I like for my factions? And what do I like for Slanesh? Well, Emperor's Children will... I hope Emperor's Children get a rule like... I think there's nothing wrong with taking mechanics that work from Age of Sigmar. And I think the Slanesh rules for Age of Sigmar are very neat, right? This idea that you have a detachment rule that interacts with the enemy player, not just their models, right? You offer the enemy player... I believe this is how it works. You offer the enemy player rerolls, and if they accept them, if you can tempt them with your gifts from Slanesh, those free rerolls, you get a type of point that allows you to... I think it allows you to summon more models. Or maybe it works like a blessings, like you can get buffs. I can't remember the perks, but I believe that's how the player interaction works with the enemy player. That's really cool design space, right? That is an excellent example of mechanics abstracting the narrative in a very, I think, appropriate way. Pyro says, for AdMech, I hope for a Ryza-style one, and for Nids, a Tiamat one, even though Kronos could use one as well. Yep, Kronos would be cool. The problem with Kronos, because I lean more towards Kronos as well for Gengar in previous codexes, because that's the detachment that, well, would offer the spooky Shadow in the Warp flex, which I think is like, I just love the horror element of the Tyranids, right? The Shadow in the Warp aspect. But Kronos is half divided between shooting and spook, and I almost would like, selfishly, I would like them to be separated. But yeah, I think a Kronos one would be a good inclusion. I don't believe there's a shooting-oriented detachment in the core codex. Pyro says Thanksgiving. Is that in October? American Thanksgiving is what's up. Detachments from my own factions. It's weird. Space Marines detachments they're all chapter focused, but not really, but they are. So then how do you give a Salamander's detachment when Firestorm exists? I guess you could just have multiple, right? Just here's another take, right? A Salamander's detachment that isn't as focused on transports and is more evocative of the Salamander supplement. That would be cool. I think a Crimson Fist attachment would be very cool, right? I think it was 8th edition. Yeah, in 8th edition, the Crimson Fist had White Dwarf rules, if memory serves. And those rules were very cool because they were a little out of the box. They gave you benefits for fighting, attacking enemy units which outnumbered you. Right, so I think it was something like if you target an enemy unit that had more models than your unit, you'd have +1 to hit. It was something like that. And I think if they were double, it was +1 to wound as well. Or I might be making that up. That could have been a stratagem or something else entirely. That's a fun design space, right? That encourages you to build your list in a very particular way. Lots of MSU, and then look, you're encouraging scenarios to take place which would be thematically suitable for the Crimson Fists. Jerry Sanchez asks, what's your favorite army in 40k? Well, I like many armies. I suppose that's not a satisfying answer to the question. Favorite army to play? I used to enjoy playing my Salamanders immensely in 8th and 9th edition when I could field things like Chapter Masters, right? And I don't think it was because of the rules necessarily. I think the rules were adequate. They weren't anything, award-winning in my opinion. But they just offered you like peak reward for the investment, for the creative investment of the hobby. That's what those Space Marine chapter supplements did best, in my opinion. From a gameplay point of view, it's a tough question because I don't particularly like the core gameplay experience of 40k. So I think it comes down to hobby projects or hobby passions. I like the look of the Eldar models, but again, I don't particularly like fielding them in 10th edition presently, or even at the time, right? Because they were the boogeymen of 10th edition at its start, and at various points throughout, and it was like a stigma I had to preface and counter, like, look, I'm not bringing the crazy stuff. These aren't, meta lists that I'm fielding. Hopefully Battle Focus is the new take on Battle Focus that we'll see. Hopefully relatively soon. Will be a interesting, mechanically rich army rule. One could only hope. Francois, welcome to the stream. American Thanksgiving, in air quotes, is Thanksgiving. All else is a cheap knockoff. Nice. I guess we should paint the other sides of his pack, right? Probably. Oh yeah, we got these straps. Very important. Void Spark. Welcome to the stream, Void Spark. You ask, how's it going? It's going pretty well. Painting up this Breacha boy. Gonna bust open some walls. Oh, there could be a thematic kill team report at some point in the future. I think there's a possibility of such a report where maybe this guy breaks open a wall or two. Definitely a real cool flex of the Kommando kill team. Get this little hammer badge. What was I rambling about earlier? Right. Favorite faction or favorite army? My favorite army in 40K. It's too tough, man. Honestly, I have a pretty easy lane of likability for most factions. And we'll move on to a bit of quick edge highlighting just to make those straps stand out a bit more. definitely not the neatest work. Void Spark says, just finished watching the vid you guest starred on with Northern Exile and The Outer Circle. Good watch. Hey, I'm happy to hear you enjoyed it. It's definitely something that the three of us are pretty enthused to continue doing. So it's something to look forward to. Though I think the plan is to move them around from channel to channel. So I think the next one's actually on my channel, and the Outer Circles afterwards, and then it'll just repeat. We are looking for, I mean, I'll pose it to my chat, but I haven't discussed this with those guys. But if you guys have suggestions for a name for that sort of format or show or series, I'm all ears. We do want to call it something, we just haven't decided what. Okay, I think now the brown sections are ready for the Earth Shade. The Shade of Earth. Pyro says, I do have one complaint. What the 40K? Your mic quality during that was doo-doo. Really? Do you find it to be different than the quality right now on this stream? Because I had the same microphone. So I am rather surprised to hear it's... Well, yeah, you tell me if it's different first. Not really bad, but not as good as your current stream, for example. Yeah, that is very strange. So the way it works is whoever's hosting the call, or whoever's planning to upload the video, just records the call. Nothing fancy. Would you say the same about Outer Circle's mic quality relative to his videos? Wonder if it's a Discord compression issue, maybe? Oh, regardless, I'll try and do what I can, but that... definitely surprised, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I'll get some dark sea gray. I don't know if we'll go brighter than this for the badges or concrete. I don't know if it's necessary. Then we'll use London Grey for this brick. Now, really, probably should have done this before the Agrax Earthshade, but look. I'm doing this off the cuff, so there is plenty of room for errors. Next I'll use some Rakarth Flesh for the wraps, I think. I'll have to give it a wash with something. Well, yet I don't know what. Maybe a Poxwalker shade. Could be a purple shade, maybe. Chat's been giving a lot of peer pressure towards painting these orcs purple. Oh, look at that. That's not wrapping. That's metal. Well, color me surprised. Power says no, Outer Circle sounds just like his vids. Yours was the odd one out. I'll be back, finish that vid, and be more precise on the complaint. What the freak? Well, you know what? I appreciate that, Pyro. Okay, so I'm going to circle back to some metal colors. Well, I think there's something pretty cool I can do here. Since I dumped out so much metal color, maybe we can do like a grimy sort of effect on our Breacha RAM. So I want to make sure I'm not missing other areas first. Right, I'll buckle up top. Okay, so for this grimy effect, I'm thinking of using some Seraphim sepia. Applying it in the extrusion point of the Breacha RAM, and then dialing it back, and then using that metal color to add some streaks, so it looks like the metal's been scraping, and you know. You could do another pass of this, but I've noticed what is, you guys see that? This like connecting bit of debris here? I don't like it. I think that might have been some of the original metal color. Okay, so while that wash dries, we will come back to a second pass. While it dries, we'll continue base coating our red elements. Look how thin this is for a base color. Not ideal at all. Oh, right, and the plunger, of course. Of course. Hey, that could be metal, right? At least the handle. Oh, look. Painted his shirt red. Oh, no. Ah, there we go. You know what? We'll just do Earthshade over the whole wrap, and over both wraps and the concrete. I think that's less painstaking for one. Okay, let's do another pass of Seraphim Sepia. Oh, I see your back, Pyro. Just give me 1 second and I'll give give your message a read. Heart says, I'm back and about the 40K. I have a question. Do you have noise suppression enabled on Discord? Because it seems sometimes you are cut off to some degree. Might have been noise suppression, thinking it's background noise. Interesting. That sounds like a plausible... It sounds likely. It sounds very likely. I'll have to check. Thanks for doing the investigative research, Pyro. Yeah, noise suppression seems to fit the experience, the issue you've described. All right, so taking a cue from the source reference here, I think it would look cool if this cable was also hazard striped. So we're gonna make it rack earth flesh as well. Let's try and break this up if we can. Want a smooth transition, ideally, of this sepia grime. The stippling usually does the trick for weathering. Seems like that'll take a while to dry. Let's do our Earthshade application. Victor, welcome to the stream. I just saw your message now. My humblest apologies. Orc Goper. Pyro says, well, I'll be off. Good luck, everyone, on your minis. You take care, Pyro. And again, I appreciate the legwork you've done with regards to audio quality investigations. Victor says water noises. Yep. Lots of water noises on these streams of mine. It's the nature of the beast. Alrighty, so what is next? We have, let's build up our yellows. So I still have some AK Dirty Yellow on the palette, which I think, oh look, it feels very watery. We'll see how it goes. I'll start layering it up over this Reichland. So looking at this, I feel like I've already mixed this in at some point with some off-white, probably. Which isn't necessarily what I would prefer. But I suppose it's adequate enough. I think immediately making these yellow has bumped up that visual interest factor quite a bit. Victor says my English is a potato, but a teach of the 10th edition for my group. Warhammer is new for Brazilians. Now have official translate for Portuguese. No, I cannot understand the Portuguese language, unfortunately. Unfortunately. Alright, let's begin brightening up this Breacha ram. It's sort of the key detail of this miniature, right? It's also forward-facing with regards to our money shot, so I think it's worth giving it a bit extra attention. And so, similar to how I approach the Orc Knives, I just think it would look interesting if we had some weathering scrapes along this Breacha ram, well, the body of this Breacha ram. Gets a little tricky towards the top and bottom. But I think it's, you know, just this is sufficient. On this side, where it's all welded down, gotta darken that. So we'll just put a heavy amount of gnome oil, and I'm hoping because of the model itself, it'll hold the shade at this end without running everywhere. Okay, so hazard striping. We want basically equidistant bands, but look, I guess because it's an orc weapon, it doesn't have to be perfect. Alright, we got a bit of forgiveness, a bit of hobby forgiveness for the orcs. This wouldn't be machine perfect. Oh look, forgot about that whole side. Okay, we'll circle back. I mean, that's kind of adequate. It's not terrible. Gotta clean up the stripes near the bend there, but you know, for a first pass, it's manageable, I suppose. It does suck trying to use yellow to cover up black paint. One does not simply paint over black. Okay, let's apply some yellow to the other side of our hazard barrel. Okay, so normally I like to build up my yellow from a brown to a dull yellow to a bright yellow like this. This is usually where I end the yellow layers, but because this was pre-mixed off the palette, this is where we're starting. So I think I'll try adding in not adding in, but layering over this a yellow ink. I have a yellow orangish ink, so maybe that could be used to bring things back down. Victor says, I am going nice paint. Oh, well, not a problem, Victor. Thanks for tuning in. We can apply a bit of paint to these bits of scrap, which should help them look like scrap, like they're from various different original vehicles and different parts. Now I would like to do something about this helmet. I think it needs a color. As for what to give it, I'm not certain. Could go with the blue. Not a terrible idea. A lucky helmet. Maybe we go with an olive drab. I am undecided. I think I'll have to end up going with a black. We'll brighten up the face details just for readability. Kind of got a Terminator style face covering here. You know, with regards to the geometry of it. Which I haven't really noticed up until this point. That should help with readability, I think. Yeah, I think making the helmet blue might draw too much attention. Could go with yellow. Could go with yellow like a... Would the orcs want to reference Crimson Fists? Not Crimson Fists, Imperial Fists, would they? I don't know about that. You know, you do hear there is lore or, you know, stories where blood axes would emulate Imperial Guard, Force Org, and heraldry, you know, in their own way. But I don't know if they would do that for Imperial Fists with regards to Siegecraft. Might be a bit of a stretch. Might not be the most tasteful angle. Okay, real quick, we will apply this hazard striping. Oh, it's some thick application there. Actually, that's pretty adequate. I'm happy with that. You know, one of these other orcs had yellow stitching on their pants, so I'm trying to figure out who. I feel like it was a thing. Well, not on his pants, actually. It's this guy on his jacket. Maybe that's something we can carry over. Let's apply our yellow ink on this side. Nice. Yeah, that orange ink is going a long way. A blue lightning bolt on the energy pack here. What would that equate to? Lucky and fast. I wonder if there's a design space for a sub-faction style or detachment rule that could take into account how players paint their orcs. Let's try a turquoise. I'm gonna mix some of this incubi darkness with my blue color and some black here. covered this with a bit of black contrast, and from there we should be pretty much done, ready to wrap up. Whoops. This all over, that I hope this technique item works. So with this damp towel, I wonder if we can pull that contrast away, at least most of it. And get a kind of grimed up, weathered sort of helmet. And since the metal color's alive, look, we might as well use it. Why let it go to waste? We might as well use it and just add a bit more life to this kind of idea. And this scrappy wrecker helmet. And since we're edge highlighting metal, why not carry it through to the shoulder pad, which is a pretty unique detail. It's forward facing. I think it deserves a bit of attention. think with this, it's reached a point that I'm fairly satisfied with. Any last minute things to add? Any final features? Maybe a little bit of a highlight here on our lightning bolt. Oh, and you know what? With the black paint I have left, might as well define these straps a bit. Alright, this guy will need a part 2, most likely, just to finish up the base, and there's quite a bit of accessory work that still needs to be picked out. But I think that's sufficient for one stream, a part 1 before and after. So, to anyone who made it to the end, you guys are the real hobby heroes. Thanks to everyone who joined the stream and chatted, gave it a like, and did all that good algorithm interaction stuff.